Hello, my name's Robert Stevenson. I'd like to show you around my island's adrift map. It's taken me a little while, but I'm really happy with it, and I think it's one of the more complex things people have built with it so far, so I'd like to get people's opinion on it. I'm making a video because screenshot-wise, what I've built it's not fantastic to show off in screenshots because it's essentially a maze. Well, it is a maze, which means that most of the low-down shots that you get are of walls. It's both good and a bad thing. I mean, the fact that it is a maze means you need to have walls up, otherwise you could just see over and run straight to the end, but of course it means that the close-ups are of, well, walls. But I'm quite happy with the level of detail that's gone into each of the individual areas in this. So hopefully you'll be able to see that in this video. I created it's not a huge island, but it was big enough. It needed to be to scale to the character effectively. That's what was important. The walls and such couldn't be made to be too big, so all of these... Oops, oh, I've jumped straight in. All of these floor tiles and so on, they had to be tall enough that your character couldn't just straight jump over them, but not so tall that they blocked out everything and made it impossible to walk around. It's incredibly easy to cheat in this. I mean, your character has a grappling hook, so the whole idea of the maze is kind of pointless, but if you want to play through it as a maze, it works. There is a design philosophy that's gone into the creation of the maze. I've never made a maze before, but I think that it functions reasonably well as one, and I came up with a few ideas while coming up with the layout, and I think it works reasonably well as a maze itself. Just going to jump back out again. Talk about the island. The main, the top bit of the island was constructed. Actually, I can show you, can't I? Was constructed with a few cubes at different angles and such, and I've clad the upper bit in stone so that it will kind of stand out and look constructed. And the bottom bit was just a sphere which I've sculpted and extruded and fiddled with until it it looked natural enough. It would be nice in future if it was possible to apply two different what's the word? Where's it gone? Global settings. Two different noise algorithms in one go. That's something that would be kind of useful, because then you could have something natural with something of a platform base built in, so that you do less sculpting, but that's fine. That's just something to kind of suggest to the devs. Oh, there is a block through the wall. That is quite annoying. I will have to fiddle that out. Anyway, right. So back to the maze. I've designed it in 4 quadrants, effectively, so it gives you an indicator of how far through the maze you are. The entrance is down here. Each quadrant is color themed. This is something that I decided on reasonably late in the design. In fact, the trees were all looking quite samey the way it was, and I wanted a clear visual aid to help you guide through the maze. There are quite a few little kind of points where the maze gives you an indication of what's ahead, either through a lower wall or being able to see through gaps, that sort of thing. I'll run through while I'm talking about this now. I've put as much variation into each area as I possibly can. I'm right at the limit of the complexity at this point. I wanted to get as much out of this as I possibly could. I wanted this to be one of the grandest things that people have made with this so far, and I hope I've achieved that. At one point, all the walls were the same as these. They were using vertical, about 3 meter tall slabs. That had to be changed because it was ridiculous, and I think I was using 130 or 40 of these, whereas now I'm using about 30 of these. So I've dropped it by a quarter, and the number of extra items I've been able to put into it because of this is quite handy. It's much more it's much more natural. It's much more packed into it. This is one of the smaller kind of side area bits, so it doesn't fit the theme of the rest of it, other than that it kind of it's another variation within the maze. So there's a nice little section that kind of breaks up the rest of it. So we're going into the blue section. So there are a few bushes and that sort of thing that kind of make the colours work and everything. One issue that I had is that I can't seem to put down the sculpted heads and have them maintain. They don't stay here. So here there should be one of those stone heads, those female stone heads on its side, and it had some flowers in its ear and in the kind of cavity, the brain. This is a horrible brain cavity part, the bit that's been chipped away off the top of the head, which made it look quite nice. But that's unfortunately it never seems to load back in. It just disappears. So that's something else to consider. This is one of the points where you're shown the dead end effectively without having to go down it. So if you look through this gap, you can see this part is collapsed. So there's no reason to go around here. You can just know. But if you do go around, you can see the little bits of rubble and such from where it's collapsed. So that was quite important. That the maze is, if I constructed the maze in Minecraft first because you can prototype a maze so quickly in that you can just go block, 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 and just create this whole area really quickly. But that maze is far harder than it is here because this gives you a lot of visual indicators of where you can go and that sort of thing. So I think this maze isn't too difficult. I could be wrong, but the color indicators and the little indicators that tell you where to go and that sort of thing. They're actually telling you where to go, but you can tell, well, I've come back to here, so clearly I'm going the wrong way because I've already been through there. The maze moves in a spiral. I'll quickly come back out. So the maze moves in a spiral starting here. I'll just turn off the UI a bit. Starting at the start, you can go this way, but it's locked off. Here, it's very important that there was a wall that connected from the side to the center because it allows the left-hand rule to work. This is something I just know about. It's just natural to kind of figure these things out, but it means that you can just follow the left-hand rule and go all the way around and you'll get to the center. If this wall wasn't here, you wouldn't. You would be able to go, you would just go around the edge the whole time. But you'd find, even if that were the case, the colors would tell you that that's a problem. But yeah, the map moves in a, what's that, an anti-clockwise direction. So you start at the start, and then you move around until you get to the center here. I'll jump back in now. I think I was coming up to the red area. So this is the point where it shifts over from blue to red. There are no red bushes in the game, unfortunately. So the red area is just trees and flowers, but I mean it's just there to kind of give you a little cue on where you are rather than lead you as such. It just kind of lets you know if you stumble back here, you know you're going the wrong way because you've gone back to the blue bushes. So as we walk further through, you can see each corner piece is each kind of connection uses a larger block just to kind of connect them a little better. They overlap a little bit. There's little cubby holes with seating areas and stuff. Not that you can actually have. You can't, I don't think, sit down. But it's just kind of one of those. It alludes to civilization and the way that the place is used. One thing I'd like to see in the game is more in the editor and such is more human items in the game, more things that indicate the civilization that was here before. So things like bowls and vases, little statues, that sort of thing. Like maybe cooking utensils, this sort of thing, campfires, that just things that show that as a level editor, as someone who's creating a level for someone, you can suggest to a player what is being constructed, what the area was used for. So something like or that it was inhabited more than it being just a load of ruins. Something to uncover also. There's areas where, like back here, it would be nice to be able to put something in here, like a small kind of tidbit, kind of like an object to focus on. So in here we've got stones, flowers, and a seat. It would be nice to have something in here which, like a small curio item that you could kind of look at and go, maybe a compass or an hourglass, or something interesting to kind of draw somebody's eye and just go, oh, there's a thing there. I can kind of, like, I found this thing, and you could even have you could have it as a collectible, but you could just have it as I've found all these things. This is where they were, kind of thing, and then. I don't know, something like that. So, yes, move back through. There are a few walls that are diagonal, not many. I wanted to mix up a little bit, but keep to a main theme, keep to a main style that goes on. So there's a few little bits where it deviates from the straight, perpendicular walls. And these bits, these columns, most of the map is tiled to some extent, but of course is worn away. And there are some areas where the undergrowth and the flowers and everything is taken over entirely. Here's one of the little kind of this is a dead end sections. So if you look through, you can tell that this tree is where a dead end is, so you know not to go that way. If you were trying to do it, if you wanted to solve it with some, what would the word be? Some finesse, some intelligence. If you wanted to intelligently try and solve this with hitting as few dead ends as possible, you could look through and say, this tree is next to a dead end, therefore I don't need to go next to that tree. I've mixed up the grass as much as I can. The default just grass is really good. It carpets fantastically, and then just mixing in a few different things kind of livens it up a bit. Here's another section where you can look through and you get a kind of a preview of what's to come. So there's a little shrine or an altar there, and it's kind of I don't think this one tells you as much that this is a place that is a dead end, but it's there. It's quite pretty. And I've tried to include as many little collapsed areas just to kind of mix it up a bit. So there's tiles on the floor and stones and that sort of thing. There's quite a few different areas you can go through. The variation is pretty good. The more that's added to the game, the better stuff like this will become. There's another focal point as you're walking through, something of interest as you're exploring. So there's points where there's an object which draws your attention. It's out of the norm compared to the rest of the objects here. So hopefully it stands out. So this kind of, as you walk through, this is revealed, and it's something interesting and different, and it's unique to this part of the map. So I'll walk back through here. Here's one of the open areas. Again, this is something that would be nice to have something on other than a rock. I tried to lay flowers on it, but it looked a little bit janky, just because you couldn't have a single flower, and it was difficult to kind of make it look as if they were resting on it, so I put a little stone on it. That's about as much as I could do. It's more collapsed areas, just more variation. Here's where the altar was from the other side. More bits and pieces, points of interest to kind of vary it up. As the other half, sort of the other half of the statue. It's not of the fallen angel statue, but not quite. There's another dead end which you can run past. It doesn't require you to go down. There's more rubble, that sort of thing. Sometimes it squeezes you in, make you a bit claustrophobic. Here's another dead end indicator. Anything like that you can just jump over. It's not. I mean, you can cheat so easily in this. It doesn't really matter. This is one bit where, when I took the screenshot of the Minecraft version, I didn't know whether I put a slab here or not. I don't know where the wall was, so I put a broken wall in so you can kind of decide whether it was meant to be there or not. I mean, clearly it was meant to be there, but it's fallen. But it's just one part of the creation process. This is where the head originally was, and I realised it wasn't. It was just disappearing, so I changed it for an angel statue. And then I tried it again over there, in the blue area, just to see if it was just the area or something, but it didn't fix it. This little seating area just at the end. Another bit that's just completely overtaken by grass and the undergrowth. So there's no stone over there. Let's pop back round here, and then lead to the finale. So there's a bit. This kind of indicates where you are, and for the most of the map, I have been keeping. I've not deliberately done it, but I've kept the camera in the location you would have it. So even though this is quite big, you may not notice it on your way through, which I think is quite good. I'm quite happy with that. That you can walk all the way through here, have this large kind of object in the center, but still, because of the limited point of view, be surprised and hopefully somewhat impressed by it when you get to the end. So it's quite happy. And there's some flowers to kind of indicate where the different directions were and that sort of thing. So yeah, this is my map. I'm just going to I'll change the time of day quickly. Oh, hang on. There we are. And just jump back in for a second. There we go. And that's quite pretty at this time of day. So, right. Thank you for watching my video. I hope this went in some way to show my process for creating this, and looking forward to the game coming out and such. Thanks. This is Robert Stevenson saying bye. Bye.